I don't know who the hell we think we are when we do something like that.
What's up, fight fans? This is the Combat Connection, and we are live on the Cageside Press social media platforms. Joining me today, as always, is Eddie Law, and we're going to be breaking down everything from UFC Des Moines last weekend and looking ahead to the UFC 315 pay-per-view in Montreal this week. Eddie, those last three fights on the UFC Des Moines card were wild. D-Rod and Ponzinibbio went to war. We had Bo Nickel kind of get exposed on Saturday night by Reinier de Ridder, the former champion over there, and won. And then in the main event, Corey Sandhagen put on a masterclass performance over Figueiredo. What did you think of the night as a whole in Des Moines? I was there live. I thought that the crowd was electric. It was one of the best crowds I've ever been to at an MMA event. And I thought it was a pretty good night in total. The prelims started off a little slow, but the main card really picked it up.
It was pretty solid, dude. Got to say, I enjoyed it. No, I wasn't one that was like kind of pooing on it. All right, I wasn't shitting on the card at all. I thought, look, it's a fight night. You know, fans have been complaining about the Apex forever now. So there you go. You got they put it in Des Moines, motherfuckers. There you go. All right. So card overall on paper was kind of trash on paper, but we knew there was going to be something delivered. It always happens this way. So super. I was laughing my ass off at the RDR win not because RDR won, because I picked them to win. I was like, no, come on, dude, because I kept saying. And people were like, oh, Bo's gonna mess him up. He's gonna dominate him. Reinier de Ridder is a two-division, one championship world motherfucking champion. All right, yeah. He's a grown.
He's the real deal. He proved that on Saturday night, man.
He's a grown man. Bo Nickel's a baby compared to him, and that's not to diss Bo Nickel. That's the reality check on Bo Nickel. I wish I could zoom in, but look at my eyes, motherfuckers.
I mean, it really looked like a former world champion with.
Yeah, but you think he could be? Everyone will say he could be Hamzat.
You know,
you think he could be Hamzat? Bo Nickel?
No,
right?
Oh, no. He was talking way out of school, and I mean, there's people posting stuff on YouTube about his old clips and him kind of running his mouth on podcasts and stuff, and him talking about the Dagestani, saying they don't train like we do at Penn State. We're like the U.S. military, stuff like that. It was a little crazy, but
hey, you know what I said after that fucking win, RDR? I was like, we are overrated as hell. Bye, Bo.
So here's the thing. I thought Bo got into a situation that he had never been into before, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're an athlete and you've dominated your whole life, no matter what sport it is, and then you get there and someone's finally testing you, and it's not in the practice room. You're getting tested in the actual game. And, he got up there, and when he took de Ridder to the ground and de Ridder reversed him, and then de Ridder kept him on his back for 2 minutes in that first round, Bo was like a fish out of water at that point. He didn't have a game plan past plan A, and when he couldn't go in there and steamroll somebody like he had in his previous fights before leading into this one, shit kind of hit the fan, and there wasn't really a plan B for the guys over there for him. At his camp. So I know he's trained over there with Thiago Alves and the great coaches over there, Mike Brown, but they didn't really have a game plan for him after he couldn't immediately steamroll de Ridder and get him to the ground and get that fight over with. What did you think, Eddie? Do you think this just showed that, Nickel wasn't really on that level? Because as I look at the rest of the division now, and you look at some of these fights against unranked opposition like Joe Pyfer, Andre Petroski, people his age, those are now interesting matchups.
Bo Nickel would have been a world champion now 15 years ago. Why? Because back then, one trick ponies, and again, I'm not dissing Bo Nickel. I'm describing him goddamn accurately. This is the accurate description of Bo Nickel. He's a wrestler. That's it. That's fucking it. Okay. You cannot be in this game right now and be a world champion and talk out of school, like you said earlier about Bo Nickel. You cannot be doing all that shit without being well-rounded. Bo Nickel is not well-rounded. He can be, but he's got to get his head out of his Penn State ass and be like, maybe humble myself a little bit and go hit up a striking school.
And to your point there, about 15 years ago, he may have been champ. I think the comparison on this guy is Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman doesn't necessarily have the greatest striking in the world, but if you go and look at his fights, he was on the feet with Lyoto Machida in that contest for a lot longer and looked a lot more comfortable than Bo ever looked against a guy in de Ridder who's primarily a jiu-jitsu guy. I mean, this is very alarming to me considering, the amount of potential that people thought Bo had and saying that he was a top 10 fighter and top 5 fighter in the world already. I think everybody got a real eye-opening experience. And I think that the skill set matches up a lot to Chris Weidman, but it's just not there yet.
That is a great comparison, but I'll tell you the difference right here. And this is not to shit on Matt Brown and ATT. I love ATT. They have some of the best like collection of talent, okay? But I learned this talking to the guys from Bloodline, Cub Swanson, and all these guys, these LFA dudes. Okay, Chris McCate, Richie Miranda, Lehiam Douglas, Jacob Rosales, Chapulin, all these guys, okay? They're all coming up together. We're about this. We might see 3 or 4 Bloodline guys in the UFC all at one time. Why do I say that? Okay, because you can collect all these guys at one big fancy gym in Florida all you want to and call it a great gym, but are you getting the attention that you need? Okay, why did Chris Weidman do so well? Because Chris Weidman had Ray Longo, Matt Serra, was it Dean Thomas? Everybody else that was in there. Okay, he had all their attention, so he learned quickly. He was taught quickly. You There's something to be said about, I know a lot of guys say this stuff like, look, if you're the best one in your gym, you're screwing up, go to a better gym. 100% agreed. Bo Nickel's not the best at ATT. Okay. And Bo Nickel would not be the best at Sarah Longo. He would not be the best at 99% of gyms. He needs to go somewhere where he's going to get, my opinion. This is my opinion. You don't have to leave if you don't want to, Bo. Do your thing, dog. I'm just talking, right? But go to a gym where you're going to get all the attention. Okay. Be the best at that gym and then move to an ATT. Move to an AKA. Right? A gym with a lot of talent, a lot of killers just like you. But right now, you ain't ready, Bo. Not for the top.
I mean, it was alarming to me, Eddie. It's like when you sit there and you can't get the game plan done for your plan A, and then you're on the feet and you look that bad, you can't put combinations together. It didn't look like he improved at all from what we saw in that Paul Craig fight. It just does not look like the progression is there. And I think there's a lot to what you were saying about being a small fish or a big fish in a small pond. Getting attention and getting good looks on your training partners. It's obviously that this guy, I mean, I don't care how many great fighters are training over there at ATT. He's not been tested in the gym. No. You saw his face in there. It looked like he'd never been hit in the mouth. It's shocked like this was happening. And, it's just, I don't know. It's very frustrating to see because you think that these guys at the biggest gyms in the world have been tested against other world-class fighters that are sitting there with them every day. But, I mean, who's really in there that can stop Bo's takedowns and who's going full bore at him 100%? And to this point too, Eddie, Renier de Ridder is the biggest 185-pounder I have ever seen. This guy's 6'4.5". I mean, he is massive in there. He made Bo look like a child.
I was laughing because I was making the graphic. I was working the photos you sent from Wayne Day, folks. Brett Cagle did an amazing job last week, and it's his first UFC one. He killed it. You're gonna kill it for the next one, dog. Believe that. But I was laughing at the picture of Renier de Ridder because he looked dead. He looked near death, and I'm just like, man, this dude does not give a fuck. Keep in mind, he was 85 champion and 205 champion in one championship. Okay, and at the same time, all right. So he don't give a shit about cutting weight. And the funny thing he said, I think at the post fight, remind me if you said in the post fight or in the, it might have been with Michael Bisping. He said, I had to remind myself or I had to remember to see if I was still Dutch or not and have that striking. He had that striking, dog. So Renier de Ridder, y'all need to stop doubting these dudes and these guys and girls that come from other promotions because there's one championship doesn't mean he's not good. He clearly just proved that he's really, really good, right? And now he called out Sean Strickland. I want to see that too. I get it.
I think the Strickland fight's a great call out. I think that's a great matchup. Striker versus grappler. Going to see a different skill set from de Ridder than what we saw on Saturday night. But Eddie, last thing on Bo Nickel before we move to Corey Sandhagen. How alarming was it to you that he didn't show the grittiness that we've seen from some American wrestlers in the past? We see Chael Sonnen and Daniel Cormier, even Chris Weidman, like I mentioned. Tim Kennedy, I know was a combat veteran, but was a veteran and American wrestler in MMA as well. You had to kill these guys to get them out of there, especially in their first loss. It looked like Bo more or less accepted defeat. And I hate to say that, but he saw where this train was going and he jumped off the track. What do you think about that, Eddie? And is that alarming for a cage fighter, considering this is not a wrestling match?
He got in his head real quick when he couldn't control Renier just like any way he wanted. If we see all the Bo's fights outside of the Paul Craig one, which it just seemed like he decided he was going to stay with Paul Craig, which made it an ugly ass fight. But the fights before, he was like, "I'm going to take you down and beat you up on the ground. That's all I'm going to do, over and over and over and over again." When he couldn't do that to RDR, he was just like fish out of water, big old eyes, like, "What can I do?" Anything he tried, RDR stuffed it. And then he started eating knees to the body. And now, as he got not the first one, but maybe the second one. Okay. He gets hit to the body and he made this face that I've never seen Bo Nickel make before. And I guarantee he's never made before. That was like that oh shit moment. Like, oh, I am dealing with a different animal. So, look, best wishes to Bo Nickel. He comes off like a douche. I get it. I don't hate the guy. I don't dislike the guy either. And actually, I enjoy Penn State wrestling.
The greatest athletes are that confident. 100%. You go look at Anthony Edwards, who's doing 100%. Well right now in the NBA playoffs. He has a rational 100%. Confidence. Michael Jordan had a rational confidence. I mean, is Bo Nickel at that level? No. And I think that's kind of where some people are, having a little pushback is because you need to be able to be self-reflect in the gym or wherever and say, hey, I'm not at that level. Maybe I shouldn't push this narrative. But I'll tell you right now, though, Eddie, he's lucky he ended up in there with Reinier de Ridder, because if this happened against a Khamzat Chimaev or a Joe Pyfer, the ending would have been a lot more violent, and it might have been conclusive to a career.
Khamzat would have killed him. Joe Pyfer would have shit himself, and I even made the fight. I don't want to hear about Joe Pyfer. Okay. I have no respect for Joe Pyfer after he blamed being in a different country for his shitty weight cut. That's not the country's fault, dog. You're a professional athlete. Get it together. Anyways, but and that's not shitting on the guy. That's just saying your excuse was ass.
I think that's a big fight, though, if people really think about it. That's white collar versus blue collar. Yeah, Bo and Joe, because that's both East Coast guys. That's white collar versus blue collar, somebody who came through the American education system and got their degree through wrestling, and someone who literally had to grind from being homeless. And everybody knows the story. A big puncher versus a guy who's a big wrestler, striker, grappler, both Americans, both from the same territory, different backgrounds. I think that's a big fight.
No, I want to see. I don't want to see Bo anywhere near a cage for minimum until November, minimum. And I want him to just striking. Dog, I don't want you shooting a goddamn takedown for the next few months. I want you striking, parrying, blocking, pop, hitting, taking shots to the body, working. I want a striking clinic run on. That sounds weird. A striking clinic run on fucking on Bo Nickel. Okay. And then I want to see you in November against Joe Pyfer. That's what I want to see. November, and on an East Coast card somewhere.
Would you also like Torres Finney's out there? And I saw some talk online that said we got to get one of these guys to fight on the feet. Let's put them together and see how this goes. What do you think of that? Because Asmat Bakoyev also called out Torres Finney after he beat Ryan Loder this weekend too. So
I love Bakoyev, dude. This dude, you just see on Twitter, what did he say? He said something. It was the funniest shit. He agrees.
He's like 1,000 followers, and he's like, I'm at 2,000 followers.
There was another one. He goes, at 1,000 followers. Well, I won't give you guys anything, but I have 1,000 followers. I'm like, my guy, funny. Let's go. Anyway, like funny on Twitter. Anyway, but no, again, Bo has the tools. He's got the mentality. He just needs the reps, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's funny you bring up Anthony Edwards, because I'm just like, God damn, I was watching that dude the other day. Dude, if that's not Michael Jordan's kid, I don't know whose kid that is. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
But moving on to the main event, we kind of, talked a lot about that Bo Nickel fight. Hopefully he returns. And, we've seen people in the past like Ronda Rousey not necessarily return from losses too well. I think Bo's got a good head on his shoulder. He's going to be able to come back and hopefully pick up some wins and move in the right direction. Henry Cejudo had something similar happen to him before we move on completely. His first loss was to Demetrius Johnson, knee to the body there, also crumbled in the first round early. I know Bo got to the second, but, so Henry Cejudo came back and did well as well. So people have been in this situation that are elite wrestlers also. But Corey Sandhagen looks like a new man out there. Figueiredo couldn't do anything this weekend other than go for leg locks. I don't know if he knew, but Ryan Hall is the jiu-jitsu coach of Corey Sandhagen, so it's not going to work out too well there. Corey said as much in the post-fight press conference, said he's not going to lose those 50-50 positions. With the leg locks, he ended up sitting up on Figueiredo, who did not do the right positional movement and blew out his knee. So Corey Sandhagen was able to get the TKO victory here, but I think that it was going to lead to a finish stoppage later in the rounds anyway, Eddie. It looked like Figueiredo didn't really have any answer for Corey on the feet and was getting actually reversed by Sandhagen, who just seemed to be too big for him on the ground.
Dude, it was a lot of fun to watch, honestly. For as long as it lasted. But you knew halfway through that first round, like, oh, Figgy's in trouble. Mm-hmm. He's in trouble. I mean, you know this. When you're going for leg locks on somebody, what's the one thing that's going to happen to you? You're going to get smashed in the face because both your hands are down here trying to crank that heel, making sure everything stays in place, right? And if the knee's not in the right spot, you're screwed. He didn't really have the knee in the right spot ever. And Corey did really well, just inches his knee out of danger to the point where it's like, all right, go ahead and crank it. You're not going to do anything. So now when Corey sat up and used that 50-50 position, that's why, look, I hate 50-50 position. If I get stuck in jiu-jitsu and at an open mat or even in a roll and in training, I'll tell him, like, hey, man, you go for anything. I'm tapping because of what happened to Figgy. At that point, it's not just that no one's safe in that 50-50 position. I don't know if you were trained it, but in 50-50 position, both participants are in danger, right? And Corey was able to sit up, and that knee went the way it wasn't supposed to go. Popped, and it was game. So now what I saw on Twitter was like, oh, well, Figgy got hurt. No. Figgy didn't hurt himself. Planting a foot, throwing a punch, throwing a kick, nothing. Corey did that to him. That is part of the fight game. If we can't accept that shit happens, I don't know what to tell you, right? But I saw some people trying to downplay Sandhagen's win off of that. No, dog. He did that. Yeah,
I agree. I think it's exactly like the first Yair Rodriguez fight with Brian Ortega when he snapped his shoulder out of socket going for an armbar. Everybody's like, oh, but the shoulder. It's like, no. Why do you think the shoulder went out of socket? He was going for the armbar. So it's a similar thing here with Sandhagen. But he looked so good, man. I think that him versus O'Malley is the matchup to make. At least for fight fans' viewing pleasure, that would be crazy on the feet, and I think that he would actually have. An advantage on O'Malley in the grappling as well. And both of them are very, very long for this weight class at 5'11". But Corey Sandhagen, I think this was the best win of his career. Obviously the Frankie Edgar knockout is what's going to be shown on highlight reels, but this was the most complete performance I've seen from Corey Sandhagen against someone who's a former world champion. Very impressive stuff from him this weekend.
It was great. And I know he was like, trying to make his case for a title shot. Yeah. I wouldn't give it to him yet. Right? There's a lot. There's a log jam in the top. But if I'm Corey, I call Dana repeatedly and Hunter maybe Hunter more than Dana. Dana's out doing boxing, but I call Hunter and I'm like, hey dog, you need a backup from Marab and Sean. You need to call your boy. I'm available. I'm right here. Yeah, for sure. I'm not hurt. Quick fight. No big deal. That's what I do if I'm Corey. Just keep poking at the side of the UFC's head and just like, I'm right here, motherfucker. Just go.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Great win for Corey Sandhagen. Figueiredo, and I was surprised that maybe I don't know what Figueiredo is going to do next. He's not going to move back down to 125 pounds probably. It's probably the end of the road for Deiveson Figueiredo here at some point with a loss or two. I know he's going to be in the top 10 still, and there's good matchups to be made, but this basically took him out of title contention for the rest of his career, in my opinion.
I wouldn't say the rest of his career, but he's going to need something like an impressive run to make it
5 in a row, probably.
How old is he?
I think he's like 37. Let me look that up.
If he's close to 40, you might be right.
Yeah, I believe he was 37. But Eddie, what do you think of the Mason Jones Jeremy Stevens fight? That was fight of the night. The crowd was going electric in that one. And also D-Rod got a big win picked up over Ponzinibbio.
Yeah, the first of all, the D-Rod win was dope. That was fun to watch because people look at Daniel Rodriguez like he's like the generic. You ever play UFC 5 or whatever it is, wearing 30 or 5, whatever it is. UFC 5, when you start the thing, everyone thought like he's like that generic guy you start with that in WFA or whatever they call it in the game in the early promotion. He's not. He's a world-class fighter, 100%. Now, I know some people were like saying like, "Oh no, Ponzi's too big," and I'm like, "Have you ever seen D-Rod stand up?" Because I've seen D-Rod in person quite a few times.
D-Rod was bigger. 2 inches tall. Yeah, way bigger.
Way taller. Okay. Mm-hmm. Ponzi he's just outmatching this one. Then he catches him with that left hook repeatedly. Dude, that left hook was like magnet to his face. It was.
I kept running into it all night.
Over, and it was like Ponzi like set himself up for it. It was wild to see. Yeah. He didn't change anything. So now I want to say Ponzi's done, but as far as like title contention, my boy. Yeah. Tap best on that, bro. Behind him. Tap on that. Let's just go for some fun fights.
Yeah, and it's hard to see, man, because I was a really big Ponzinibbio fan, and he was knocking out Neil Magny, knocking out Mike Perry. And then he had that injury with the staph infection in his leg, almost lost his whole career.
That's where it started, dude.
And I think the movement just was never the same when he came back, unfortunately. But when he was on his first title run, he was a really hot prospect that, had one-shot knockout power and he was awesome to watch. But for D-Rod, here's my thing with D-Rod. I don't think he's going to look great against the technical kickboxers in this division. No, I think that Ian Gary kind of showed that, right? Is he going to look great against the Wonder Boy Thompson? Is he going to look good, against an MVP? I don't really think so. But he can get into a lot of these fun fights, and I think he might be the best brawler in this division. And if you get into these fun brawling type fights, the Robbie Lawler fights from back in the day, all those type of stuff, D-Rod can hang with the best of them, and he does have big power. And we saw this weekend he's been working on the boxing combinations. He looked real fluid in about a 5-punch combination that he finished Ponzinibbio in.
No, honestly, D-Rod, you said it exactly how I kept saying it when I talked to anybody about D-Rod. D-Rod is not going to be a UFC champion, okay? He's just not. Unless he goes on some magical run, he's not going to even snip a title shot. But are you going to remember his fights? Yeah. The ones that are brawls, absolutely. D-Rod is a fucking dope ass guy to watch in a fight where he's just like, hey man, my balls are out, you're up, let's fucking go. Grab your nuts, let's fucking fight. That's the kind of fight that he does well in. And that's what happened with Ponzi. Ponzi ran into a brawler, tried to brawl him a little bit, and he got caught. But yeah, dude, I think D-Rod is one of those dudes that's like a lot of fun to watch, but I wouldn't expect much from him until title runs.
Great win for Rodriguez. I don't necessarily have a name off the top of my head I mean, Prates is going to be coming off a loss. His ranking is somewhere near, the back end of the 15. I want to see Daniel Rodriguez get a chance to get into the rankings at some point. I know he's not a top 10 guy, but he could potentially flirt with the top 15 and compete with some of those guys in the back end of the rankings. But moving along to Jeremy Stephens, he returned from BKFC, defeated Eddie Alvarez over there, had a big win in Eddie's hometown, but in this week, he was the one fighting in his hometown against Mason Jones, the European striker who looked really good, Eddie. Some of those spinning techniques in the first round almost caught Stephens clean. The wheel kicks, some of those spinning elbows actually busted Stephens up. This was a bloody war. This was the fight of the night. Tremendous back and forth action here, especially in the first 2 rounds. Mason Jones in the 3rd round elected to go for a couple takedowns to secure the victory. But those first 2 rounds, Eddie, are as good as you're going to watch. And certainly the crowd there in Des Moines appreciated it as well because they were going crazy for their hometown boy, Jeremy Stephens.
I feel like you and I kind of both knew, right? Like Jeremy Stephens is coming back after a long layoff from MMA. It's a different game, right? BKFC, I think he should have stayed in BKFC. I think he came back. I think this is a one-off. I don't think we see him again in the UFC. But
I thought the fight was awesome, though. And he did show calf kicks. He did get up from the takedowns in the first 2 rounds. 100%. He was still showing that martial arts experience, but just didn't have quite enough to get it done.
But Mason Jones just got here. I mean, figuratively, right? He just got here. Jeremy Stephens has been here, and he had a lot of trouble with him. Right, he showed a little bit here and there for sure. I agree with you with that, right? But put him against someone on a run right now, and Jeremy gets killed. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying get out of UFC. I'm not saying get out of MMA. I'm saying you are a lot more fun than BKFC. There's a lot more money, in my opinion, to be made for him there. And if he wants to be a gladiator, wants to be all that, they're going to Italy with that shit too. It's gonna be nuts. But do that, my opinion. Yeah. Do that.
I agree. And if you do keep him around, you're going to be throwing him to, there are some guys at 155 I'd like to see him fight. Sure. Bobby Green. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Bobby Green. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Jim Miller.
Hey, give me Bobby Green, Jeremy Stephens, main event where's Bobby Green from?
I don't even know.
Wherever he's from.
Texas, ain't he?
I don't know. Wherever he's from, send him there. All right. Yeah. Main event in a city there. I would hate to have that fight in the Apex. That's a brawl of a fight.
Yeah, but that could be like a co-main Apex card, legitimately though.
As long put him somewhere where they're gonna get a microphone and talk. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you want to do it in a pay-per-view, do it in a New Orleans pay-per-view. Put him on the opening pay-per-view fight. All right. Or at least get him in the press conference because that'll be quite a bit of fun in my opinion. If you want the shit talking there, as far as the fight goes, you can put that anywhere. It's gonna be fun to watch. You got that fight in BKFC is gonna be fun to watch. Can you imagine?
So I think there are a couple guys at 155.
Jeremy Stephens trying to walk down Bobby Green while Bobby Green's hands are down, calling him a bitch, and just coming out with like angle shots on the bottom. I would be on the ground laughing so hard just watching.
It'd be a great fight.
It would be awesome.
But yeah, so I think at 155 there's still some, like Mason Jones to me is not a bad fighter. And Jeremy Stephens did have him hurt. When you saw Mason Jones at the press conference, his eyes were just swollen, crazy. And then, I look on Instagram and I see Jeremy Stevens is, drinking and smoking with his boys afterwards. And he looks like he hasn't even been in a fist fight. So, that's kind of been the story of Jeremy's career. Guys have really had to avoid the big power of him, but have just out-volumed him at times, or maybe out technically beaten him in positions. But nobody's going in there and necessarily stopping Jeremy Stevens and sending him home like he's trying to do them. So there's still fight left in the dog, and it was a great fight. If you haven't seen it, go watch it on ESPN Plus from this past weekend. But Eddie, is there any other performances from you that really stuck out? We talked a little bit about Azmat Bakoyev. Yeah, this guy's going to be a problem. This guy would have finished Bo Nickel. This guy is going to be a real problem for guys up there in that top 15. Jack Hermanson, some of those dudes. If you can't get him to the ground, and we saw it with Ryan Loader, this guy's powerful. Oh,
this one right here. Julian Robertson TKOing Marina Rodriguez. Has there been – man, this girl was right there, man. Marina was right there to become like a champion, and just like she lost it. That momentum was gone, and that was that. So now she retires, moves on to something else.
Kind of reminds me of Marlon Moraes of the females division.
Oh, that's pretty accurate. That's pretty accurate. I'll give with that.
But
real quick. So shout out to her. Julian Robertson, stop sleeping on this girl. Okay. She's not just choking chicks out. She's knocking chicks out too. Okay. Fuck. And then Thomas Peterson. Kwang had a good one. Thomas Peterson. Now I've spoken to actually a couple of his teammates. One of them being Steven Asplin from LFA. And he loves Thomas Peterson. Loves him, right? But every time I see Thomas Peterson fight, I'm like, bro, you look like you're like a diesel truck mechanic. Guess what? He fucking is. He works on diesel trucks all the time. It made me laugh so hard. I was like, holy shit. So I love the story of Thomas Peterson. I really do. And then Juliana Miller, real quick, just on that one. It was cool. She wrestled people the wrong way. You can't, you know what I mean? She just did. It is what it is. But you can't say you weren't super happy that she won that fight. You know what I mean? Especially as we're talking about her grandma and all that.
She was going through. You could see it in the cage. She was talking to herself.
Dude, when you get in and you start ugly crying, you felt that. I mean, dudes do it too, but I mean, she lost it in the actual cage. So, and then a post-fight, happy and all that is cool. But the only reason I bring that up because some of you motherfuckers online, you need to shut up, go away. Going after that girl. She is mourning her grandmother. She never got this. She's finally mourning her grandmother. You want to take shots at her on social media? Eat shit. Yeah. Fight fans are the worst people on the fucking planet, dude. When it comes to the social media, bettors and fight fans are terrible.
And they have terrible.
I thought NBA fans online were trash. Oh my god. Jesus, nothing on fight.
I saw that too. Some people were talking. This girl just got the biggest win of her career in terrible circumstances in her personal life. I mean, she dug deep. Like
people can hate her all she wants to. If y'all want to hate on somebody, hate on them if you want to. But shut the fuck up. Don't be reaching out to them with that garbage, man. Like, come on, have a little bit of human decency. All right, with your fucking, what do you call it? Anonymous ass on Twitter and shit. Fuck off. That shit bothers me, dude.
Yeah. Well, UFC Des Moines, Eddie, was a great card. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10 for the card rating. What would you give it?
Yeah, 7.5 is good. 7.5 is good. I didn't expect much, and it definitely over-delivered. I definitely didn't expect much from that. Now, the crowd at Iowa was cool, but it made me laugh.
15,000.
Yeah, but it was almost 15,000. That can't be that hard. But and Iowa haven't been in 20 years. What made me laugh is the UFC was kind of like, when they showed because you sent us the footage, right, or the photos from Face-Offs or whatever, or the footage, the footage. I laughed when they had Mark Ratner. They had Ratner, not Sean Shelby, not McMaynard, definitely not Dana White, right?
They must have not thought there was too much bad blood.
Ratner, Mark Ratner, who couldn't stop a fly from bumping into another fly. Can you imagine someone got mad? These two people got mad at each other. Mark Ratner gets hurt. Right?
I think the respect level, though, is you got to respect Mark.
You got to respect Mark. You got to. You cannot mess with Mark. But do you remember Dave Scholl? He used to be UFC PR. The John Jones, Daniel Cormier face-off.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. He's now a PR dude for the NBA
Sixers, for the Sixers in Philly. I think last I saw Philly, the last time I got to talk to him,
David Schluman
no, it's like shoulder, but I know it's Dave. I used to just call him Dave all the time, but I know it's Dave Shoulder, Dave, whatever it was. He fucking. I remember asking him like the last time I talked to him, I was like, "Hey man, what was it like on stage there with DC and John?" He goes, "Dude, my life flashed before my eyes, dog. Like I was terrified. I mean, can you imagine if Ratner trying to stop Jones in DC?" I was like, "Bro."
He might have had a heart attack.
Oh, he ain't living past that. That's crazy.
But Eddie, we do have some news coming from the PFL in our second segment of the show. We actually have some fight announcements. And last week that they had a card with the light heavyweights and heavyweights. Valentin Moldavsky beat Sergey Balestini. We had Phil Davis kind of put on a vintage performance over Razor Rob Wilkinson. Wilkinson was 19-2 coming in. And Davis polished him off with a nice right hand knockout we don't normally see from Phil Davis. We've seen some head kick knockouts from him over Linton Vassell, some ground and pound knockouts. But this was a one-punch straight right hand right to Wilkinson. And I was telling some of my friends who do bet on fights, I really liked Phil. I thought he was going to have the grappling advantage in that one. And also Robert Wilkinson being a natural 185-pounder and losing to Dovled Yagshimuradov in Bellator, who was actually behind Phil Davis in the rankings when the company was acquired. I was kind of surprised that he was an underdog going into that one. What did you think of the fights last weekend from the PFL? And are you excited about the new fight announcements for Dakota and Johnny Eblen? I'm excited for the Costello Von Steenis and Eblen fight. I don't necessarily like that it's in Africa and we can't go watch it. But what do you make about some of the news coming from the PFL and the fights last week?
The only reason we're getting any of these announcements is because Dakota Sheva came out saying that she was nervous. She was, bothered that she hadn't gotten a fight. The only reason we got it. She complained. 2 days later? She's on Junkie or whatever else, like talking about it.
2 days after that, it's solved.
No. You know what she said? She goes. I'm hopeful now. I'm hopeful. When did you ever hear name anybody? Name a big star in the UFC. Conor McGregor ever say, "I'm hopeful to get a fight"? Are you kidding me right now? When have you ever heard John Jones say that? Nobody in the UFC ever says that. All right. She had to say, "I'm hopeful. I guess it's gonna happen." She got a call from Don Davis like, "Hey, please stop being mean to me, man. They're gonna come after me." Like, come on, dude. Come on, dog. So anyway, fine. She gets a fight. She gets little Sumiko Inaba.
And we've seen her fight in Bellator a lot.
No, my boy. I love Sumiko. She's super nice. She's the coolest chick to talk to. Okay. She's half the Cheva size. Maybe. What are we doing? Like, come on, man. Now, did you get her a fight? Great, cool, right? But it just seems like PFL is doing everything they can to just shoot themselves in the foot repeatedly, right? Just to beat the UFC to Africa, they threw together some random ass card. Come on, man.
Yeah. Where's Ngannou? We're going to Africa. I mean, I know why Ngannou's not in the headlines right now, but but Don and Pete don't even show up to press conferences to answer questions about that. Have you talked to Francis since that's happened? What's the plan for Francis? Is he going to get charged? What do you know what's going on? No questions can be asked. So very frustrating with that. But at the same time, I would have liked to have seen Francis be there when they did go to PFL Africa. He's supposed to be the head of PFL Africa.
Yeah.
Why don't you get crazy? Why don't you have him fight the guy that just beat Anatoly Molkin and won, who's from Africa, Rug, and then you have an Africa versus Africa matchup down there, when you go there. But, nobody really thinks about anything outside the box, I don't think. I don't see any reason why we'd ever see Francis Ngannou fighting the PFL again, honestly, right? I just box about it. I'm him, I box. Why the hell would I put myself through this shit? Eddie, do you think they have paid more money to Francis and Jake Paul than they've paid to the rest of the roster combined in the last 2 to 3 years?
And Jake Paul
they've had one fight out of the two of them, and I'll bet you they paid him over $20 million.
God, man, Don's supposed to be a businessman, bro. Yeah, probably. Look, man, there's just a lot wrong with PFL, but it seems like for every step to take forward, they take 3 back. Yeah. Right. Every single time. Got rid of the dumbass regular season format. Awesome. Great move, PFL. Brought back elbows. Hell yeah. Don't book anybody for fucking who knows how long. 10 steps back. All right, cool. Did Trevor get to fight? Awesome. In Africa. Why? Are you serious? Come on, man. So, whatever. It is what it is. Now, let's just hope that it's a good card. And again, this is all just about beating the UFC to Africa. Nothing else.
My question, Eddie, is also, I guess I could reach out to the UFC PR team about this, or the PFL PR team about this. Yeah. But when it was Bellator Champion Series, it was on HBO Max, right? Now that it's PFL Champion Series or PFL World, whatever this is, where's this? Is this still HBO Max? Where is this going to be seen? Some of these international cards, like who was it? Doumbé, his debut, that wasn't even on ESPN Plus or anything. So. I hope everybody can see these fights.
I'm trying to see if they have anything said where it's gonna broadcast, but I don't see anything on their website on PFLAfrica.com, of course, that says anything about where it's gonna broadcast. So
yeah, I mean, I'm glad Dakota's got a fight though. Keep her active, and maybe she fights the winner of the tournament at the end of the year or something like that. I hope it's Liz Carmouche. I think that's the fight. You got to have the veteran in Liz Carmouche versus Dakota. The grappling is there, the grittiness. Liz is a tough girl to finish. So I think that's the fight if Liz can get through the season format. But what do you kind of make of Thad Jean and Jason Jackson and the rest of the PFL schedule before we move on to our predictions for the UFC this weekend?
Gene Jackson's the best fight they got going. Honestly, what other fight can you name off the top of your head where you're like, fuck, yeah, it's going to be a banger? Just that one, in my opinion.
Pinedo and Braga 3. That's
3. We've seen it twice, bro. It's not gonna. I'm more excited about that Gene, young guy coming up against a killer like Jason Jackson. And by the way, PFL, y'all owe Jason Jackson a title shot. What are we doing? Come on, man. Anyway, but yeah, dude, Thad Gene's gonna be a fun up and comer if he can keep on, going. Right, keep on in that with the momentum. But he's running into a buzzsaw of a veteran in Jason Jackson. So I think it'll be a good fight. Honestly, I think that'll be the only fight I really care about in that card.
Yeah, unfortunately, probably the same, but it's going to be a good one, like you said, former champion.
That's Nashville.
Appreciate that, man. But yeah, that is in Nashville, June 12th.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Matt Davies, I don't know about that, bro. I don't know if I'm gonna go out there with you, bro. But if you do, let me know. Anyway, go ahead.
I think I will be out there, but we do have a UFC card from Montreal this weekend, a pay-per-view UFC 315. In the main event, the welterweight championship is on the line. Chicago's Bilal Muhammad takes on Jack Della Maddalena. Grappler versus striker in this one, Eddie. I really like this matchup. I think Jack Della Maddalena has a better finishing ability than what we saw when Bilal fought Leon Edwards. Mm-hmm. Leon has not really had the aggressive nature to him. When you go back and watch some of Jack's fights against Randy Brown and other guys, he's all pressure, all action, tries to get the fight finished as early as possible. But is he going to run into some grappling from Bilal Muhammad that he has struggled with in the past in some matchups like he did with Basil Hafez? I don't know. This one's a really tough one for me to call. I'm going to decide, or I'm going to side with the champion in this one. I'm going to go with the experience. I'm going to go with the ground game in the well-roundedness of Bilal Muhammad. I think he's going to hold Jack up against the cage for large portions of the fight, maybe get 5 to 6 takedowns over 25 minutes and grind out some sort of gritty 3-2, 4-1 decision win. How do you think this one goes?
Bilal Muhammad make it as boring as possible.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's not gonna. I mean, if you're Bilal Muhammad, would you stand and strike with JDM? Not a damn chance, right? He'll stand with him for a little bit, and as soon as he gets close enough to grab him, take down, just over and over and over again, just take him down. Marab his ass. This is gonna happen. So, at the same time, I like Bilal. It's weird, right? Like a lot of people, no one says that. I like Bilal Muhammad. You know what I mean? I don't mind that people don't like him. I don't mind that he says whatever he wants. I don't mind that he says that he speaks his truth 100% because most of the time he's right? And if you look at his resume, he talked about recently about his resume. Media day today, in fact, talking about if you see, talking about what constitutes a great welterweight fighter or a great fighter. Right? Is it title defenses or is it a strength of schedule? I think he had made a good point with strength of schedule. He's fought the who's who. They made him go through the ringer just to get a title shot, right? So I think he's a lot better than people think he is, especially as champion. Does JDM have a chance? Sure. I think it's too soon for him. I think he needed I think we need to see one more out of him against a grappler and him show the fact that he can stop a grappler or whatnot. But you take your chances. You take your opportunities when they come.
Yeah, I think if this is a finish, obviously it's going to be Jack pretty early. Yeah. Listen, if Bilal can't get the takedown here, you might be looking at a Bo Nickel, Renier de Ritter type situation where he's not going to want to be on the feet with Jack, and Jack is going to put pressure on him that he is uncomfortable feeling. So, if this one does stay standing, Jack Della Maddalena has a chance. This is why we watch the sport, striker versus grappler. One of these styles is going to win. And I'm just going to have to go with Bilal Muhammad by decision. Is that where you're going to, Eddie?
Bilal decision. It'll be a 5-rounder. It'll be like one in the it'll be like midnight here in Phoenix. It'll be fucking like 2 a.m, whatever it is in Montreal. Yeah, it'll be a sleepy one.
Well, in the co-main event, we do have a fight between two strikers in the women's flyweight division. The title is on the line between Valentina Shevchenko and Marone Farrow. The French standout Marone Farrow was able to beat Rose Namajunas, amongst others, on her way to this title shot. Valentina Shevchenko just got the title back from Alexa Grasso with a dominant win at UFC Noche. Eddie, how do you see this going? These are two very technical strikers from Europe here, one Russian longtime champion with a wealth of experience, and then a newcomer in Marone Farrow, who's looked very technically sound so far, but has not necessarily faced a physical force or someone with the experience of Valentina Shevchenko.
Manone's about to find out. She's about to find out. If the bullet we know and love shows up, she's not only going to get kicked in the head, right in the side, knees to the body, she's going to get taken down. She's going to get ragdoll. She might even get submitted. You never know. I think that Bullet's about to dominate this chick. And it's not me shitting on Marone Farrow at all. I just think that the level of talent between these two is like Bullet's up here and Manone's like, I can't. It's not a big enough.
Did you know Valentina's the underdog in this one?
And that's silly to me. That's silly to me. It makes no sense to me. So, again, I am not trying to shit on Marone Farrow. I was actually discussing this with somebody else offline a couple of days ago, and they were like, "Oh man, Manone's gonna fuck her up." No, she's not. All right, y'all keep overlooking Bullet's grappling, like her all-around, well-rounded game. She showed a lot against.
Do you think that maybe it's because? Do you think it's maybe because the odds makers are going that way because she's shown some cracks against Alexa Grasso, shown some cracks against Taila Santos, and she did get controlled. I thought she lost that Taila Santos fight, if I'm 100% honest. But obviously Grasso did her thing against her too. I think Farrow is very good, man. I really do. And I think I'm going to take her this weekend. I'm going to take her by decision. I would not be surprised, like if you're saying Valentina goes in there, wrestles her to the ground, big brothers her, for lack of a better term, and, is just more physical. It really wouldn't surprise me. But with the length of Farrow, I think that she's just going to be very fast, younger, and just a version of Valentina that maybe was Valentina one day on the come up. I was there when she fought Holly Holm before she even won the title. She was very raw then. It wasn't the girl who was head kick knocking out Jessica Ai, like we saw. So, I think that Marone Farrow has a lot of very good skills. And she impressed me with some of her recent performances over Rose Namajunas and others. So I'm going to go with Marone Farrow in this one by decision. I'll take the two favorites in the co-main and main event.
I got Bullet. I'll go decision as well. Marone, I think, gets a lot of fanfare from the name she's beaten. But if you remember, none of them were finishes, right? Yeah. My MBS decision, Jennifer Maia decision, Rose Namajunas decision, yes. Caitlin Chukagian, or apologies, I don't know what your last name is now, I'm sorry. But Caitlin Seminar, whatever, decision. Aaron Blanchfield, great win, decision. Okay. End of the day, if you're gonna be a decision machine against Bullet, you're gonna get decisioned, in my opinion. So I don't see what people are looking Bullet, but I got Bullet in this one.
Yeah, well-rounded champion, someone that's a veteran of the sport. You can get her as an underdog this weekend at online sports books if you're a gambler. Eddie's going with her, and maybe that's a good place to put your money.
Hey, look, man, I'll say this. I may or may not have put $5 on RDR.
That worked out.
No, weeks ago. Holla at your boy.
Hey, that's a good one. Now, we do have another legend on this card. Jose Aldo returns against native countryman of Canada, Almin Zahabi. Now, Zahabi's brother was the coach of GSP. A little backstory here. He runs one of the most successful gyms, the most successful gym in Canada. His brother is going to get a chance this weekend at the biggest name that he's ever fought, Jose Aldo. Aldo, to me, has he taken a step back from where we saw him on his title runs? Sure. But he is still a very game competitor. That fight with Mario Batista was very, very close. And Mario Batista, to me, is a very good top contender. He's somebody who's been on a tear, running even through Jose Aldo, and I think he's on about a 7 or 8 fight win streak himself, Mario Batista. But Almin Zahabi here, I don't think that he's going to have what it takes to out technical kickbox Jose Aldo for 15 minutes. He's going to have to fight him from the outside like he does in every fight, using the jabs and leg kicks and creative techniques. But I don't think Jose Aldo is going to let him do that. The pressure that Jose Aldo puts on guys when there is no threat of the wrestling coming back at him, I just really think that Jose Aldo is going to eat up the front leg of Zahabi in this one and find a way to get a decision victory here over 3 rounds.
Every single time that I sit here going like, man, we're going to see Jose with the kicks. We're going to see Jose. We fucking haven't in years. We have not seen Jose Aldo kicks the way Jose Aldo kicks in years, sir. So is he gonna? No, he's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna chop him up at all. I'm not saying that Iman is gonna win. What I'm saying is we need to stop expecting the old Jose Aldo to show up, right? And just understand this is pretty much 40-year-old Jose Aldo fighting a much younger guy with a lot more to gain, right? Yeah. So you know what? I like Iman Zahabi in this one by decision.
Really.
I think so. I think Jose Aldo, what happened against Mario Batista, I think that messed with him quite a bit. And like he was talking about today at media day, he said he was that it bothered him that people were pissed off at Mario Batista because Mario has not gotten booked since that fight. Okay, and he won that fight on paper. So I think Jose's gonna. Who knows what his mindset is on this one? And okay, you tell me what you think. Do you think Jose is kind of just here, like? Because it doesn't seem to me like there's any kind of.
I thought that he was probably demoralized after that last one.
Forget that. What I'm asking is this: do you think Jose Aldo is just here just to be here? Because there's no direction to what he's been doing. Mario Batista, Iman Zahabi, where are we trying to go? Up, down, left, right? What are we doing? There's no direction. It just seems to me like he's just here.
Yeah, and when he came back, we were all like, "Yeah, Dominic Cruz, all these guys that he could potentially fight." And who have we seen him against? Mario Batista, Jonathan Martinez, and Almin Zahabi. He's building names for other guys and basically being used this weekend as a builder for someone from Canada as maybe Canada's prospect. I'll tell you, Almin Zahabi is 37 years old. He's 1 year. He's 1 year less than Jose Aldo. Where was he when Jose Aldo was champion? Where was he when Jose Aldo was sitting here and beating Jonathan Martinez 2 years ago? Almin Zahabi was losing to guys, and if I go back on his record here, I can tell you exactly, but he lost to a couple guys on his come up that were just it was alarming losses. So I've got Jose Aldo in this one. I think you have to be a world-class fighter to beat Jose Aldo, and I don't necessarily think Almin Zahabi is a top 5 fighter in the world. I think Mario Batista one day will be a top 5 fighter. I don't know if Almin Zahabi is necessarily at that level yet. And if I compare him to the win that Jose got in his return, Jonathan Martinez, I think Jonathan Martinez is a tough fight for Zahabi too. So, we'll see. I've got Aldo by decision. Do you think Zahabi stops him, or do you have a decision too?
Decision. Zahabi by decision. A lot of momentum on his end here. He has direction. He's got a coach, his brother coaching him and everything. He's got direction and everything going. But I just think he's got something to fight for, and Jose doesn't, honestly. And I think it's going to show. So as much as I'd love to tell you it's going to be an exciting fight, I don't think it will be. I'll tell you this: if it gets exciting, I think Jose gets a knockout. I think Jose's going to go ape shit. But if you want to beat Jose Aldo, you can't let it be exciting. You got to be a little boring, as we've seen every time Jose loses outside of the Conor fight. Boring.
Yeah, and his brother does come up with some of the best game plans in the sport, so always have to take that into
GSP's
account.
Coach.
Yep. But we are going to be talking about the other half of the UFC Noche women's flyweight title fight. Alexa Grasso returns this weekend, is also a big underdog versus Natalia Silva. Eddie, you have been all over Natalia Silva on her rise here the last couple fights, telling people to watch out for. Mm-hmm. Were you surprised that she was almost a 2-1 favorite over Grasso?
No, this girl's got everything you could want. She's a full package. And she's undefeated in the UFC. She has 2-3 finishes in the UFC, I want to say 2 of them. Again, not against any names, right? But she just beat Jessica Andrade, which a lot of people thought Andrade was going to be able to catch her and knock her out. Couldn't do it. Viviane tried to do it, couldn't do it. Andrew, KGB, we need to stop. Just tap on that. We're done with KGB not doing this shit. But anyway, outside of all that, this is the biggest fight in Natalia's life. Okay, she gets this win right here. Forget about it, man. This girl's gonna skyrocket. She's got all the skills. She's got all the momentum. She's a full package. If she learns English, forget it.
Sky's the limit. She wins this one, she's in a number one contenders fight or fighting for the title like right now. So this is a huge, maybe number one contenders matchup. I was really like you just said, the strength of schedule isn't necessarily there for her, in my opinion, to be such a big favorite over Alexa Grasso. But we'll see. I know a lot of people that I've been talking to are going to, bet on Alexa Grasso this weekend. But I'm going to take the, advice from you and other people I've heard about Natalia Silva. I'm going to take her by decision in this one in a 3-round fight. I've seen Grasso fight an extended amount of times. I've seen Silva fight, about 3 or 4 times here on her UFC run that I remember. But Natalia Silva in this one, I've got her by decision in a close one. What do you think?
I got a type of decision as well. You're not going to finish Alexa Grasso. That girl's way tough. But she's still dangerous as all hell. I just think Natalia Silva is that next level, evolution of flyweight.
Now, Eddie, we got 2 more fights that we got to talk about here, and one of them had a short notice replacement from Canada. Benoit St. Denis will take on Kyle Propek. Am I saying that right?
I don't know.
Polek. He's taking on Kyle from Canada. Kyle from Canada is 12-7. Benoit St. Denis is coming off that bad knockout against Dustin Poirier. Needs to get back in the winner's circle here. Do you think that he gets a dominant win? He's the biggest favorite on the card at 10-1. I see him probably taking Kyle down, who looks to be a striker on paper, and probably submitting him in the first 2 rounds. What do you think about this one?
BSD by finish, however he wants it. First round, second round, doesn't matter. Kyle is here to get his foot in the door and get in. Now, if he pulls off some crazy Azuma type shit, yeah, we could have something in our hands, right? But yeah, there was a lot of names you could have thrown in with Benoit, and it was weird that they picked this one out of all those.
Yeah.
But
I saw Michael Dufort was trying to get on the card.
I was like, get that man in there. That'd be a solid fight. So, but either way, Kyle gets the call. We'll see what happens, man. I mean, 12-7. In MMA, you don't really knock that kind of record, but 12-7 outside the UFC is kind of, what's going on here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Either way,
exactly. There's got to be some chinks in the armor there for Propellic. Now, moving on down the card here, we do have a welterweight fight, and this is my underdog of the card. I like Charles Radke this weekend against Mike Malott, and I'll explain to you why. Radke is a former college wrestler with one-shot knockout power. I don't see where Malott's going to win this fight unless he just jabs him and leg kicks him to death. He's not going to be able to take Radke to the ground. Radke is too physically strong, and if it stays standing, Radke is going to put pressure on him like he did Matthew Sellensberger. And if he hits you once with a left hook or a big right hand, I mean, it is lights out. He knocked out Sellensberger. He's knocked out a lot of guys on his way up here. And his only loss recently was to Carlos Prates, who, is a matchup. I know the nickname's the Nightmare, but he's a matchup nightmare for Charles Radke there. Got good jiu-jitsu and is like 6'3" compared to 5'9" here at the welterweight division. I don't think that there's going to be that much of a size disadvantage against Mike Malott, and I think that the physicality and strength advantage is going to go to Charles Radke, which will keep him on his feet in this one. How do you see this one going? Do you think Mike Malott can, use his technical skill to get a decision win here, or do you think Charles Radke is going to be able to put power on him?
No, I don't know. Jab and leg kicks to the win, 100%. Mike Malott's not stupid. Yeah, Malott's going to win this thing, in my opinion. Charles is doing a whole lot of yapping. And Mike Malott's not the kind of guy that bites into bait, right? But if you see Mike Malott, super calm on the microphone, super calm before the fight. Once he gets in there, he's a psychopath. Okay, it's a different kind of dude that gets in there. I see your points on Radke, no question about it. Strong, great wrestler, but he's going into enemy territory with a bunch of shit in his own head, trying to pump himself up. And Mike Malott's like, "I'm just here to fight, bro. Like, all right, cool. Come get your ass whipped."
One of the things that's really been concerning for me for Malott was coming from that Neil Magny fight, because that happened in Canada as well, right? And it was a similar circumstance. It's like, you're the Canada boy on this card. We're putting you on the first fight of the main card. Build yourself on Magny. Couldn't do it. So, and Neil is nowhere near where Neil was when he was turning back guys, in 2017, 18, 19. So, that was really concerning for me from a lot. And I don't know what his best win necessarily. Would it be Charles Radke here? So, I don't really like the strength of competition from Malott.
What's Radke's best win?
Well, he's been in there with Protest though too. So that's the thing. It's like
right, but he got finished in the first round.
I know, but if Malott's getting finished by Neil Magny's not beating Carlos Protest. Sure. So, So I don't know. I like the finishing ability of Charles Radke. I don't necessarily think that Malott can finish fights really. Like I don't see where he's going to be able to take Charles Radke to deep waters, maybe submit him or something like that. But I don't know.
I see what you're saying about the Neil Magny fight, but I think Neil Magny beats the dog shit out of Charles Radke. Honestly, right? And this is not MMA math. I'm not trying to say like, well, fucking 50 pieces here and whatever. Radke could beat Neil Magny 100%, right? No problem. But I think Neil Magny beats the dog shit out of Charles Radke, meaning Mike Malott was able to withstand everything Neil Magny does with the wrestling, with the pressure, with the height and length advantages and all that. He was able to withstand that for at least 3 rounds. Okay. Charles Radke took a shot to the body. It was like, shit, down from a killer named Carlos Protest. So if Charles's best, I guess, fight was the Protest fight, and that's what we're going to bring here to compare.
So the best fight for Charles is Semmelsberger, and then the best fight for Malott is either Adam Fuggett or Trevin Giles. So it's neither of these guys have gotten like
right. But you're hanging your Radke hat on fucking no. You're hanging your hat on Protest. You keep mentioning Protest like he beat.
Yeah. I think. Well, here's the thing. I don't think he's going to face anybody more dangerous than Protest on the feet. So he's had the experience against the top of the spear guys on the feet, right?
Yeah.
So also I value that Semmelsberger knockout more than I value any of Malott's wins.
Okay,
especially decision. But
I got you with that.
Semmelsberger's not a world beater either. So we'll see. It's going to be a good fight and an interesting one in the welterweight matchup rankings here. So who do you think? Is there anybody else on the prelims you want to talk about before we get out of here, Eddie?
Jasmine's always fun.
Kutalaba and Bukakis is going to be a good one.
Someone might die in that one if the fight goes the way I think it's going to go. And then, Bruno Silva's back, so that's good.
Yeah. Who do you got with Brad and Bekazat?
Who cares, bro? It's Brad Katona. No, I don't dislike Brad Katona, but I've never been more bored watching somebody than Brad Katona. Oh, Daniel Santos is fighting Lee. Okay, hey, that's a good fight right there. Daniel Santos.
A lot of even odds on these. Even odds in the Santos Lee, and then also the Kutalaba and Modescus fight. Who do you have between Modescus and Kutalaba, by the way?
Modestus.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a little bit too technical.
And he trains with the heavyweight champion.
Yeah, he's training with Aspinall right now?
With the heavyweight champion.
There you go.
The outright, undisputed, actually fights heavyweight champion.
How long until they strip Jones if he doesn't fight Aspinall here? We got to hear something sooner, don't we?
It'd be dumb if it stripped Jones.
So even if it gets into the later part of the year, like November.
It would have to be ridiculous. You'd have to get to December, in my opinion, without him fighting before people will start screaming for him to get stripped. And you know what Jones says? Go ahead. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. It's kind of where we're at right now. All right, fight fans, we will bring you all the coverage from UFC 315 next week on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We'll also bring you any breaking news and look ahead to the fights that are coming up here on the schedule moving forward in the mixed martial arts world. We didn't get to talk a little bit about boxing this week, but the boxing fights were really lackluster, so it wasn't really much to talk about there with Canelo and Ryan Garcia and everything.
Let's take 2 seconds. Pretend you're a turkey right now. How pissed are you?
Pretty mad, but I think he's got the money to blow. One of the things I didn't like watching that, Eddie, is they were acting like this Times Square card was going to be open viewing to the public. Anybody can watch from apartments or be on the ground floor and see this thing. And then they had it blocked off on Times Square and literally had like 500 people in attendance, and it was raining. So, the venue wasn't the greatest. The atmosphere wasn't the greatest, and the fights weren't the greatest. So, people were talking about how boxing, and Eddie Hearn went on Ariel's show saying how boxing is so much better than the UFC. maybe you shouldn't do that before the fights actually take place, because you might have to put your foot in your mouth. Because if you actually go watch Jeremy Stephens and Mason Jones, and you go watch any fight from last weekend outside of Inoue, who nobody watched on Sunday, by the way, there was no comparison. So in terms of entertainment value. So I don't know, boxing kind of disappointed.
I watched it on TikTok, bro, and people were clowning it. Like, they were talking about it. It was hilarious. Yeah, dude, it was a joke. So waste of money for whoever paid for it, waste of money for Turkey, and fucking hilarious. That's all it was. Like, it was a shit show for boxing. So I have a lot of friends that are boxing, but like don't watch MMA at all, right? Mm-hmm. And they're big boxing fans, and they always talk shit about boxing's better. And I feelingly just texted them, like, in capital letters, ha 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 ha, to like 10 of my friends. And everyone was basically like, shut the fuck up, bro. And I'm like, nah, dude, your sport sucks.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said. A prelim fight in our sport was more entertaining than what they had for 4 championships.
Big time. So. Big time. And Ryan Garcia, get the fuck out of whatever gym you're in. Get away from whoever's training you. Go back to Eddie Reynoso, okay? Go be poor again, all right?
Ryan, get back on the juice.
Whatever it takes, bro. But what in the hell was that? What was that? David
Rolly Romero looked like a good fighter.
Rolly is no good. He's not good. So stop it. Stop it, people. What are we doing, boxing? All right.
Yeah. All right, fight fans. We'll catch you next week on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. Bring you anything from UFC 315, the recap, and then any breaking news from the week. Thanks for joining us.